Okay, in this video we are going to talk about addition and subtraction models and then strategies for addition and subtraction. So for addition and subtraction we have two types of models. We have a line model and a set model. So the first model we're going to talk about is the line model. Okay, so a line model is just basically thinking about addition or subtraction using a number line. So for example, if I wanted to show 2 plus 1 using a line model, I would draw a number line or have a number line out already, and starting at 0, label some numbers on your number line. So showing 2 plus 1, to show 2, I go from 0 to 2. And then if I add one more to it, so from 2, add one more, so this is 2, add one more, I end up at the number 3. So 2 plus 1 equals 3. Subtraction is similar, so this is for addition. Subtraction is similar, the only difference is for subtraction you are going backwards whenever you take away a number. So if I wanted to do 5 minus 3 using the line model. So again, starting off with the number 0, you could already have a number line out and use your finger to point on it, or if you're drawing it on paper, to start off with 5, go from 0 to 5. So that's number 5. If I want to subtract 3, I'm starting at 5 and I'm going backwards 3. So 1, 2, 3. So that's subtracting 3. The number I end up at is 2. So 5 minus 3 is 2. So that's the line model. We also have a set model for addition and subtraction. So the set model is for addition is probably the one that students are the most familiar with, because that's usually how we talk about addition and subtraction with them. So if I wanted to show 2 plus 1, I would show a set of 2 things, add to it a set of 1 thing. So here's 2 things, add to it 1 thing. When I put them together, I get a set of 3 things. Okay, so you can demonstrate with the sets and the number sentence underneath it. For subtraction, we actually have 2 different models within the set model. So the first one's called the takeaway model. So for a takeaway model, if I wanted to show 3 minus 2. For a takeaway model, I would show a set of 3 things. If I want to take away 2, I would cross out 2 things. And I end up with a set of 1 thing left over. So this shows 3 minus 2 equals 1. The other model is a comparison model. So comparison model says for 3, if I want to do the same problem, 3 minus 2, I would have 3 things, 1, 2, 3. Take away 2 things, 1, 2. So this is 3 minus 2. I still cross out 1 from each, cross out 2 from each, and I'm left with a set of 1 thing. Okay, so that's your 2 different models, a line model or a set model. A line model is basically a number line. A set model is thinking about sets of things. They're probably more familiar with this, but they need to be familiar with this, with a line model, because lines are something, or a number line is something that doesn't go away. It only helps them to understand things better in the future if they're working with a number line from the very beginning. Also, whenever you work on addition and subtraction problems, you need to make sure you show both models so that they can develop their understanding better. Okay, so now we're going to talk about strategies for addition and subtraction. So there are multiple strategies for addition and subtraction. The idea behind the strategies is different ways of showing students. Not all students think exactly the same, so it's important to show different ways. So the first strategy is just a standard way of addition. Before we get into that, I want you to take a second and let's kind of see how you think about addition or subtraction. So real quick, in your head, do the addition of 164 plus 56. Not without, like, no calculator, no pencil, no paper, just do it in your head. So pause the video and do that for a second and get your answer. Okay, so you should have got the answer of 220. And there's multiple different ways to do this. So some examples of some ways people do it is somebody might take the 6 over here and add it to the 4 over here. So when they do that, they're basically taking away 6 from the 56 and adding it to the 164. So they turn it into 170 plus 50 and end up with 170 plus 50 is 220. So that's one way to do it. Another way, let me think. Earlier in class, I did this example in class earlier today. Another way somebody thought about it was, well, I need to add 36 to 64 to make this into 200. So I'm going to take 36 from over here and put it over here. So taking away 36 over here and adding it over here gives me 200 plus 20, which is 220. Okay, so you probably did it a different way than both of those. There are multiple different ways to do that problem, and that just kind of goes to show that even though more than likely most of us were taught a standard method for addition, like with time and practice, we've kind of come up with our own way in our own mind. And usually it's making groups of 10 or groups of hundreds. Okay, so the first strategy we're going to talk about is the standard form. So this is the standard form. If I wanted to add the number 324 plus 239. So the standard way to do this is adding it vertically, 324 plus 239. So with the standard form, just remember that you can't go left to right, you have to go right to the left. So I start off with 4 plus 9, and 4 plus 9 is 13. I carry my 1. 3 plus 2 is 5, plus 1 is 6. So I bring down the 6. And then 3 plus 2 is 5. So my answer is 563. There's nothing wrong with this. It's very efficient, it's quick, it gets straight to the point. The only thing about the standard form is that lots of times students don't actually understand what they're doing, because when they add 4 plus 9 to get 13, why did I just put a 3 here? How come I put a 1 up here? And the idea behind it is 13, I can't put a 13 in the ones place because 13 is a 2-digit number. So I have to put the ones part of 13, 3 ones in the 1 place, and the tens part over here in the tens column. So you may not have known that. There's nothing wrong with the standard way, but students aren't really completely understanding what's going on when they do that. So there are other ways to show addition that might help them understand that. So I'm going to show you some of those. One of them is the partial sum strategy. Let's do the same problem. 324 plus 239. For partial sums, I break this apart into like expanded form basically. So the number 324, I think about it as 300 plus 20 plus 4. For the number 239, I think about it as 200 plus 30 plus 9. And then these are pretty easy to add together. 300 and 200 is 500. 20 and 30 is 50. And 4 and 9 is 13. And 500 plus 50 plus 13 is 563. Okay, so partial sums is splitting this into different parts of it that are all summed together. We sum it all together and get our answer. So this one shows a little bit more of, there's no carrying here. It's showing more of adding the hundreds, adding the tens, adding the ones. Here I put together the tens and the ones. Okay, the next one we're going to talk about is the lattice method. The lattice method is still adding vertically, but it helps take care of the carrying idea. So for the lattice method, our answer is going to have still 3 digits, but I go ahead and draw a diagonal line through each of my place values. And that gives me a chance to be able to write, like for 4 and 9, for 13, I have 2 places to write the 13. I can put the 1 in the top part and the 3 in the bottom part. So instead of carrying up top, you keep it here, down here. So again, 4 plus 9 is 13, 3 1s go on the bottom, 1 10 goes on the top. For 2 plus 3, that's 5. So the 5 still goes on the bottom, and then there's a 0 on top. 3 plus 2 is 5. So 5 on the bottom, 0 on the top. And now, to get my answer, I add diagonally. So 3 is the only thing here. 1 plus 5 is 6. 0 plus 5 is 5. And then 0 is nothing. So 563 is my answer. Okay? So that's the lattice method. The next method is called adding up, or sorry, not method. It's a method. Strategy is the word I've been using. The next strategy is called adding up. So adding up is basically adding pieces of the number until you get the whole number. Okay, so 567 plus 154. Okay, so lots of ways you can do it. So I would start off with the number 567. And then if I want to add 154 to it, I'm going to add it in pieces that make it easier. Okay, so let's start off with, like, what would be the easiest piece to add to that? Let's just start off by adding 100 to it. Okay, so I'm just going to start off by adding 100. So I'm going to keep a tally over here so I can make sure I end up adding a total of 154. So 567 plus 100 is 667. So now I need to add more pieces. Okay, so for 154, it'd be easy to add 40 to this because this would make that a 0. So if I add 40, let me go ahead and put 40 over here just to make sure that I'm keeping track. So I would get 707 when I add 40 to it. So now 154, I've done 140 so far. I still have 14 left to add to this. So it'd be easy to add the 10 next. 707 plus 10 is 717. So now I've added 10. So that's 100, 40, 10. So that's 150. I need to add 154. So now I'm going to add that last 4 in there. And 17 plus 4 is 21. So 721. And you got to check and make sure, did I add all of the 154? Yes, I did. So 721 is my answer. So it's basically adding pieces of 154 that's easy to do in your head. The last addition method is base 10 blocks. So let's show addition using base 10 blocks. Okay, so if I wanted to add the number 172 plus 235 using base 10 blocks, I would draw 172 with base 10 blocks. That would be 100, 7 tens, and 2 units, 2 ones. And then to that, I need to add 235. So 2 hundreds, 3 tens, 5 ones. So now when I go to put these together, add together your ones. 5 ones plus 2 ones makes 7 ones. 5, 6, 7 ones. This is 7 tens plus 3 tens makes 10 tens, but I wouldn't put 10 tens down here. I would regroup my tens because 10 longs makes 1 flat. So I regrouped here. So now I regrouped all those and turned them into a flat, so I don't have any tens left over or any longs. So now my hundreds, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 hundreds. So 1, 2, 3, 4 hundreds. So my answer is 4 0 longs, 7 units, so 407. Okay, so now let's show some strategies for subtraction. Okay, so strategies for subtraction. Let's start off with base 10 blocks since we're here already. So let's do base 10 blocks showing the takeaway method and the comparison method. So base 10 blocks, let's start off with the takeaway method. So we're going to do 521 minus 240. Okay, so I'm going to split up my 521. So we start off with 521, we're going to take away 240. So 500s would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hundreds, 5 flats, 2 longs, and 1 unit. Okay, if I want to take away 240, okay, you would start off saying, can I take away 0 units from this unit right here? Yes, I can. Am I marking anything off? No, there are 0 units. So my answer is I still have 1 unit there. Here I have 2 longs. I need to take away 4 longs. Do I have enough longs to take away? No. How can I get more longs? I can regroup. I can take this flat and turn it into longs. So how many longs were in that flat? There were 10 longs. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now I need to take away 4 longs. I have plenty. 1, 2, 3, 4. So how many longs are left? 8 longs. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then for the flats, I need to take away 2 flats. So take away 1, take away 2. How many are left over? 1, 2 flats are left over. So my answer is what's left over. I have 2 flats, 8 longs, 1 unit, which would be the number 281. Okay. So that's takeaway model. If you are literally have the base 10 blocks on your desk, takeaway model is pretty straightforward because it's like I have 4 things I need to take away 2 and you take 2 off the desk. It's more difficult to draw. So usually when we're drawing, we draw with the comparison model. Okay, so let's do that same problem with the comparison model. Okay, so if I do, again, 521 minus 240 with a comparison model, I still started off the same. I start off by drawing 5 flats, 2 longs, 1 unit. And now I want to take away 2 flats, 4 longs, and no units. So when I subtract, can I take away 0 from 1? Yes, there's nothing. It's still just 1. I have 4 longs. Can I take that away from 2? No, because I only have 2. I don't have 4 to take away. So again, you still have to regroup. Okay, so I'm going to turn in 1 flat into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 longs. And now I can take away 4 from each. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. And how many are left? 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 longs. And then finally, I have 4 flats. I need to take 2 away. Take 2 away. You're left with 2 flats. Okay, so still the same answer. 2 flats, 8 longs, 1 unit, which is the number 281. Okay. One last strategy is the missing add-in strategy. So the missing add-in is taking subtraction and turning it into addition so that you can think about it as an addition problem instead of subtraction. Okay, so for example, let's start off if I did 8 minus 5. I'm trying to figure out what that is. I could change that problem around. Instead of thinking what is 8 take away 5, I could think what is 5 plus what equals 8. Okay. So basically I'm trying to figure out what goes in the blank here. So we know 5 plus 3 equals 8. So that tells me that 8 minus 5 equals 3. Okay. So let's do it with a bigger number. So we'll call that number 1. I don't really know what number we're on at this point. Let's do another example of this. If I had 285 minus 137. Okay, so again, let's go over the standard real fast, the standard form for subtraction. For standard form, you go right to left instead of left to right. So 5 minus 7, can I take away 7 from 5? No, I can't take away 7 from 5, so I have to borrow. I don't have 5 ones, so I'm going to change this 8 longs or 8 tens to 7 tens and add 10 over here to make 15 ones. So 15 minus 7 gives me 8, 7 minus 3 gives me 4, 2 minus 1 gives me 1. Students have a hard time with this. Like, this takes a lot of practice to be able to get to this point on the standard method because you're regrouping, but they don't realize that's what they're doing is regrouping. So using the missing add-in method for the same numbers, so the missing add-in would be, I think of the problem, 285 minus 137 equals what? I don't know. So instead, I'm going to think about it as 137 plus what equals 285. So my goal is to add things in this box until I get to 285. So let's start off adding numbers that are easy. So 137, to make it into a prettier number, I can add 3 to it to get 140. Am I up to 285 yet? No, but I'm getting closer. I can take the 140 and add 60 to it to get to 200. Am I at 285? No, that's my goal, not there yet. I can take the number 200 and now I can add 85 to that. And now I get 285. So the total of what I added is the sum of the boxes. Okay, so 85 plus 60 plus 3, 85 plus 60 plus 3 is 148. So that tells me that 137 plus 148 equals 285. Because that was the total of the things I added. And so now I know my subtraction problem. 285 minus 137 equals 148. Okay, so your homework over this, I'm telling you specifically what strategy to show. Please show all your work, and if you need to, you can use words out on the side to explain what you did.